Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest. Riker, I don't know how you found out, but this morning, my mom waked me up. I'm back home in Newfoundland for the summer. She comes into my room and tells me the news. For people that don't know, Kawhi Leonard has signed in free agency with the team that everyone wrote off, the team that Chris Broussard, these NBA USA reporters, they were saying that there was a 0% chance he goes to. He went to the LA Clippers, and then not only did they, pull one over on the Raptors, they also ended up getting Paul George from the Oklahoma City Thunder, trading 5 first-round picks, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Danilo Gallinari. Riker.
Ben, it's a tale. It's two different tales here, because on one side, okay, and this is the side that Raptors fans need to really come away with after this whole ordeal, is that it was really a complete epic tale. And I don't mean epic like super cool, I mean like ancient times epic. Yeah. This is for more than a quarter century, this is a country that has had no success in playoff runs, no taste of championships, and we bring in this one hero. We put it all on the line for this one hero who comes into town, makes a legacy-defining run, legacy-defining shots. He rallies a nation. He becomes a legend, right? He becomes a hero, and instead of staying with a team that he'll eventually fizzle out of, anything could happen. At the peak of his victory and the peak of celebration, then he rides out of town into the sunset. And that's a beautiful story. Really it is, because that is a full, complete tale. But in the much more searing and much more disappointing, and what I think people are going to be very bitter of in Toronto and maybe Canada as a whole for a longer time, is that forever we've been trying to prove to ourselves and to contend and to compete that Toronto is a destination that can offer elite level professional sports, right? It's a place that we've been trying to groom that people would want to stay at. But tonight goes to show that regardless of what Toronto is able to offer, championship, literally winning a championship, the most money possible, an entire country behind you, all of the other things that were offered up, even all of that, they're still going to walk away to a less than team. So this means that no matter what Toronto can ever throw at any person in the entire NBA ever, that will never be good enough to land a superstar free agent. Vince Carter walked, if you want to consider him a superstar, he kind of was at the time. Chris Bosh left. He definitely wasn't really a superstar, but was definitely the highest, number one guy at the time. Kawhi Leonard, after giving him everything, he left. So this is a really crushing moment to say that, geez, I don't think Toronto is ever going to get a free agent. This has to be all from now. Finding guys that we sign and we draft, and being creative like Masai Ujiri was this season.
So you brought up a lot of points there. The first thing that I'm going to talk about as well, you brought up how cool it was for him to come in, win a championship, rally a nation, and win. Kawhi, I'm not disrespecting his decision. I fully respect that he wanted to go back to LA. It's what he told people he wanted to do before he came here. There's no drama throughout the season about him leaving. At least that got out to the media. I think he really had a tough decision, and it was really hard on him to win a championship and leave. That's why it took him a week, and maybe he knew all along. He was just waiting for this Paul George trade to happen. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that anymore, and I'm going to give my final send-off to Kawhi Leonard. Thank you for winning Finals MVP and bringing us a championship, bringing us our ring. I appreciate you, but it's still crushing. It's still just demoralizing right now, especially that he is leaving an organization, as you mentioned, is better than the Clippers, is better than these teams down the states that are filled with drama and have to go through weird tactics. Like the Clippers literally brought a player or brought a coach or something to all of the Toronto games. That's just completely crazy. Masai Ujiri built this team from the ground up without free agents, without people asking to go to their organization. The fact that he'd leave Toronto when the nation's behind him, when everything, it's just very crushing. And no disrespect to Kawhi, I'm personally not bashing his decision, but it really doesn't make sense to me why he'd leave a situation like this, Riker. I'm confused. It's jarring to me.
Well, you say that Masai built it up from the ground up, no free agents. But do remember that Kyle Lowry free agent, Serge Ibaka free agent, or was Kyle Lowry a trade?
Oh, we acquired Kyle Lowry via trade back in 2013 for the pick that ended up becoming Steven Adams.
True, via trade. And Serge Ibaka was also a trade because he came in midway through the season.
T. Ross, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. Oh my god, flipping T. Ross for Serge Ibaka, brilliant, might I say, brilliant. Yeah, listen, that's given me some temporary happiness onto this podcast. But okay, you are right. But the one thing that I do want to mention is that Kawhi has been sort of terrible to other teams as well, because this is going to be a huge hit. This is the second time now that Russell Westbrook is probably going to have been blindsided. Reports are saying that 2 hours before getting traded, he was calling the Lakers to tell them hold off on finalizing the AD deal. So he's been making them hold off because they have the ability to sign another max spot, but there's obviously no max guys left because they were trying to pursue, or they thought they might have had Kawhi in the bag. I don't know how much they believed in what the media was saying. But ultimately, I think it comes down to this. In the same manner that you brought up, that Clippers were all over. Like, this is one of the most aggressive recruiting campaigns that we have ever seen in NBA history, outside of whatever goes around with LeBron James free agency periods. In the same vein that people are doing that for LA guys, I think that really the hope moving forward for Raptors, because it's going to be hard to get free agents, like we said. This shows it's impossible to get any Americans come in free agency unless they're mid-level guys, because obviously Kyle Lowry re-signed with the Toronto Raptors. But we need to be doing the exact same thing with the Canadian superstars on the come-up. Jamal Murray's, RJ Barrett's. Now, obviously, this is a much longer timeline.
Riker, you bring up the free agent point. I'm gonna push back on that. I think Kawhi Leonard, everyone knows, he's a great player, but he's a bit different. He's a different player, different person than a lot of the stars in the league. I don't think Toronto, especially what we did all this year and everything that happened, I think Kawhi Leonard is the only superstar that would have left this situation. I think the fact that his heart was set on LA. I don't think that's a hot take at all. Kawhi Leonard, literally, he left the San Antonio Spurs, an organization that, even though the injury situation happened and all that he could have got a supermax. He could have been down there. If he stayed on that team, they would have been in championship contention. They were a perfect organization for Kawhi Leonard, who's a quieter guy, didn't want to be a part of super teams and to win championships. He demanded a trade from them to go to just LA. This man's wanted to be in LA. His heart was set on it. His mind was set on it. He came to Toronto, and I don't think it's Toronto. It's literally, we had the perfect recruiting pitch. And the fact that we kept him, where he had to make a decision, where he almost stayed with this team, I think that's a testament. Toronto Raptor is a free agent destination. I don't think, we're not LA, we're not, the glamour markets with all the history, but I think it's unfair to say that if we get a superstar, they're just going to leave. They're just going to bolt automatically. I think if Masai Ujiri had any other superstar with any other personality and did what he did for the country, the team doing what they did for Kawhi, with any other player, I'd be very shocked if they left. I'm shocked that Kawhi has left, but he's a different cat, man. He wanted to be in LA. Nothing was going to change his mind. And the fact that we won the championship, the fact that he was offered free stuff and all that. Kawhi, no matter where he went, whether it was the Sixers, the Celtics, any other franchise that is regarded as more of a free agent destination than the Raptors, and it's probably why they didn't trade for him, he would have left. He would have bolted, and it's unfortunate that was the only superstar we could get, but he did win us a championship, so it's not unfortunate that we got Kawhi. But I don't think it's a fair statement to say that Toronto's not going to be able to keep free agent in the future, and if anything, people are going to look back to this and see what they did for a superstar and probably make it more attractive for the Toronto Raptors.
Well, if they can also look back at it and say, we traded a guy that was locked in on a long-term deal and gave everything for the city and was the number one face of the franchise until this trade, and we traded him away for a one-year deal that left us. Don't forget that side of the coin. But then also the thing is, my rebuttal to your rebuttal is that what you're saying is that the only factor in deciding going to LA over Toronto was that he wanted to go to LA. And that's the point of free agency, is that people, their contracts are up, they get to decide what they want to do. And I'm saying that the market of Toronto regardless of having a championship team, regardless of having an entire nation that will support you, regardless of being able to offer the most money, that's still less on the totem pole of desirability than LA. And he chose only for the fact that he wanted to go there to LA. And I'm saying that any other player from the States, if they just want to go to LA or they just want to go to Boston, then Toronto can still have a more enticing free agency package and presentation, but they're not going to want to go to Toronto. Who's going to just say Toronto is the place, regardless of what anybody else wants to give to me?
Well, Kawhi Leonard's hurt, because usually in most free agent decisions, when LeBron James leaves, he's looking at the roster, he's looking at different teams. Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant left the Golden State Warriors to go to Brooklyn, right? They're looking at the roster, they're looking at how everything will fit together, including the destination, including the team and the fit and all that sort of stuff, and the location. But the Toronto Raptors, I think, were perfect in every other area, in every other aspect. And it was literally just the fact, it's very rare people make decisions just on location. I think there's usually a lot of other encompassing factors that make, decisions happen. And the Toronto Raptors showed that with a superstar, they can win you a championship with no matter, who they have going into the season. They can piece it together, and the city will embrace them, the country will embrace them. You'll be a legend in Toronto if you can bring us to the promised land. And I am not of the belief that every superstar would just bolt to LA if they were put in that situation. I think Kawhi, no matter what we did, no matter what franchise he went to, whether he went to the Knicks or the Sixers, the Celtics, any other glamour franchise, the Warriors, he was going to LA next season. I don't think this is a blemish on Toronto at all. And if anything, everything that happened this year makes Toronto a more attractive destination.
All right, Ben, it's good that some optimism is poking through. I'm being a little extra cynical here on this side, but like I said, I ultimately said that at the beginning. Hopefully the takeaway is what an incredible journey that we had, even though it was only a one-year thing. Even if we had Kawhi Leonard the second year, and we repeated exactly the same...
better than Kawhi Leonard.
Maybe. But even if we had him a second year, we ran it back and we won the championship, would it be as special as that first time around? No, because nothing is ever cool as the very first time that it happens. So we can definitely, me the same way, thank you, Kawhi Leonard, because it was a heck of a ride. It really filled with all the possible excitement, legacy-defining moments, rallying a nation. Now we have to pick up the pieces, collect ourselves, shake off the dust, but we can't have too much bad blood for a guy that delivered a championship to Toronto.
Yeah, there's not bad blood, but I'm shocked and I'm a bit taken aback. I appreciate Kawhi. I am thankful for what he did, but we're coming for him. We're coming for him in the NBA Finals. OG Anunoby, I'm saying it here. He's taking us to the promised land next season, right?
Well, Ben, we'll have to do a full podcast on what the Raptors can do now, but for the time being, this one does hurt, and we'll probably wallow in sadness for a while yet.
Certainly, but there's a lot of stuff Masai Ujiri's going to do this offseason to rebuild this team. We're not tanking, I don't think. We have a roster where we can really go forward with Pascal Siakam, OG, Kyle Lowry still on the team, Gasol's still here for another year. We'll be good. Toronto Raptors fans will be good. You're the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Riker, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
We'll be fine, Ben. Cheers.